Hi guys, so today I should have a pretty quick video for you guys. I had a request on making boxes with the Crafter's Companion Ultimate Pro. I'm sorry if you don't hear me as well when I put my head down. I'm in my dining room because I am going to open this up because what I want to try to do is only use this to make the box and not bring out scissors or anything else, right? Because supposedly this has a trimmer in it. So I do want to use that. So I have a couple items. I do have some glue, and this is just a Crafter's Companion Dotty pen. I would use a wet glue, or at least their solid glue if you're gonna make a box to give away or to put a card in or however you're gonna use it, because this might come apart later, but this is what I have and I just grabbed it, and it makes it so I can glue it together easily and quickly, but you probably want to use, like I said, a wet glue is my preference. I have a piece of craft paper here. Hopefully this is big enough. It's just an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, just your regular standard paper. I think this one's from Hobby Lobby. And then I have the Vintage Florals paper pad. After looking at this is not like my super favorite paper pad. There are pages I really love like this is probably what I'm gonna use today. But there are some other ones, some other patterns that are, I don't know. You know, it's the back side is prettier. The front side patterns are like this kind of thing, and they're not my favorite. But either way, I'm gonna take this. I feel like there's a lot of echo in here right now. Weird. Okay. Probably because I'm talking louder because I know sometimes when I put my head down, it's harder to hear. So, we are going to be using this area of the Ultimate Crafter's Companion Pro. This is the Envelobox area, and basically helps you make, well, actually, you know what? That's interesting, now that I think about it. This might be a little longer. So this is the Envelobox, but you can also make a box, okay? So this is the envelope box that's going to have like a little bit of like a 1/4 inch thickness. So I will do that because I don't think I did it last time in the last video. I think I just made a regular envelope. And then I'll show you how to make an actual box with a top and bottom. So let's do that. So I'll pick out another piece to make an envelope too. So let me just grab another piece of paper. Well, I'll choose that in a minute because I'm sure I'm gonna have to edit anyway or stop at some point here. So I'll choose another 12 by 12 piece of paper for that. So we'll do that. So we'll have both. And then let's open it up. And I'm gonna try to keep this in frame a little bit. On the inside of the box, or the the box, I don't know why I said that, there are box markings, right? So this one says box lid, and so this is where you would measure out box lid stuff. And on the other side, it has what they call box base. So I'll make sure, you know, we see these things clearly. So this is the area where you're gonna be scoring for your box base, and then the box lid is at the top here. So when we open this thing up, and this is the very first one I ever bought, so it has some information from like a long time ago. I'm gonna try to open this up. I want to use the paper trimmer because I'm probably gonna have to trim down my paper. So it needs that part, and then it needs this little guy. The little blade is already out. And on Crafter's Companion's website, you can buy more blades, but it's basically just like a box cutter blade. And then I'm gonna need, I'll use the smaller one, the one that has like the scoring tool, but it has a smaller embossing head over here because we just need it to make lines. And we're gonna look at our information here. So it tells you how to use the paper trimmer, how to use the mouse cutter, which I've already done in other videos, embossing shapes. So here we have Enveloboxes, which is really easy. So I'll probably start off with that, and then we will do our actual box. There's lots of boxes, like it says here, you can make shape boxes. It doesn't have to be your basic box, but I'm gonna do basic box because that's basically what we're looking at doing. What's interesting about the boxes is like it can be any size, and here I don't think it's telling you a specific size. It just says cut 2 sheets of card identical in size. One of these will form the box lid and one will be the box base. You can save an expensive decorative cardstock. You can save on expensive decorative cardstock by using plainer card for the base. Now, this is what's interesting. It says take the card you have chosen to form the box base and place it onto the board with one edge butted up against the box base sidebar. Then using the pointed edge of the scoring tool, score the line of your choice. Note, the lines are spaced at 1/2 inch intervals, which represents the depth of your box. Repeat on all edges of the card. So you do have to do some math. It doesn't really talk about that here, which is interesting. Maybe, no? Oh, so maybe it's earlier. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's go ahead and do our Envelobox. So I want to make an Envelobox that works for a, let's do a 4-inch square card, only because it's a little bit different. But if you want, you know, your standard A2 size envelope, you're gonna use an 8 1/4 inch square, and you're gonna use lines D and F. All these lines, all it's telling you is where to mark. So it might be easier in this, and maybe I should have gone with something a little more difficult like this one, but I'm gonna do this. So all our lines are gonna be on D and D. So I'm gonna cut a 7-inch square from one of our papers here. So let me put this back. And I need this to lie flat so that we can make the best cut there. So I'm opening this up completely. I'm trying to get it in frame because I want you to be able to see. Okay, so there's that. We need a 7-inch square, right? So now on this side of our cutting board, on this other side there are no measurements, but I want you to see that on this side there are some measurements, and that's gonna help you cut. Okay, so, and you line it up, here's 1 inch. So from this tab, this mark 1 inch to this middle section is 1 inch. And then 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. On the other side, there's centimeter markings. So we need a 7-inch square. So let me choose a paper. I'm gonna choose this one because I think it's not that pretty. I just wanna get rid of it. And this one has like a floral design and then like a plaid on the other side. And so we're going to line it up with 7 inches. And the lines are not all the way down, so you just have to hope that it's gonna be nice and straight. Make sure this is nice and straight in here. Take your little cutter and place it right in that notch as high up as you can get it. Because what happens is sometimes if you go to do this and you don't go all the way to the end, it's not gonna be cut all the way through. And so there it is. So what I mean is it's not gonna cut all the way through like at the bottom. I had to kind of tear it, that last little notch. So that's 7-inch, supposedly. And then we're gonna go for 7-inch again over here. And hopefully we'll have a nice cut. I've tried using this before where it did not, it cut really crooked and I was like kind of disappointed about that, but it looks like it's okay right now. And just place it right at the very top. Hopefully that cut. So there we go. Supposedly now we have a nice 7-inch square that we're gonna use to make an envelope box. So I'm gonna put these things to the side, put this to the side, and close this guy up. And again, we're gonna use our areas out here. I did have the envelope, oops, sorry guys, Envelobox and enveloper separately, but I sold them recently. So whoever purchased them, hopefully you're enjoying those because they look just like this. It was just this piece of plastic basically removed. And then the other one was the, I think it looked just like this basically. That helps you fold cards, I think. And then and then there was like on the other side of this thing was for just regular envelopes. But anyway, or something like that. Boxes, I can't remember. All right, we're gonna use this guy. There's obviously a pattern on one side I didn't really pay attention to, but we're just gonna place this here. And again, our paperwork here said for a 4-inch square envelope box, you wanna use D and D. So what we're gonna do is, what I want to say just real quickly, yeah, that's what I thought. So I don't know if you noticed, there's a higher edge here and then there's a lower piece. There's like a drop off here. You can see it, right? This line and this line. So what you're going to do first is butt it up to the very top and choose D, right? We have D. And it's also marked down at the bottom. So if you want to go up this way, you're pretty much going to have to do that in this point because that way you can see where you're going. So I'm going to go up to D. And then you're supposed to drop it down into that next little notch, down and over. I don't know if you can see there's also a notch here. So down and over a little bit. And now we're gonna mark D again. This time D is exposed up here so I can just go from there. And then we're gonna turn the corner. And again, up high, mark D, drop it down and to the right, I guess, I'm sorry, I said left, mark D again. So now you have like this little kind of pocket, like a little area. So if you were doing a different one, you're just gonna do opposite things. So D and then F and then D and then F, right? So two sides of your, two opposite sides are gonna be the same mark, like D and D, and this should be F and F, right? If you were doing a different type of card. So just pay attention to that. So two opposing sides should be the same mark, and then the other two, the other mark that they tell you to do. So right now we have D and D. I'm just gonna drop it down to the right. I don't think I did one of these the last time around, but maybe I did. I feel like I didn't. Did I mark that right? That one looks larger. Oh, that's okay. All right, and then D. And drop it down to the right. D again. I'm gonna double check this one. It looks too small. Like the opening that I made there looks too short. So here's D. Oopsie. Yeah, something happened to that one. And then down to the right. Just make sure you really have it lined up. There we go. So I was able to fix that. Okay. So now all we're gonna do is choose, I guess I'll make the flowers the outside because that's pretty. So I'm gonna fold it on these. Normally I like to score on the side that's gonna be inside, not the outside one. You know what? We're gonna need scissors anyway, guys, because we need to cut away this little extra bit right here. So let me go grab my scissors and I'll be right back. Okay, so before I really fold everything, I'm just gonna cut those little notches out. So hopefully you can kind of see, I don't know if you're gonna be able to, but wherever these lines intersect on the inner part, like this inner line, cut straight down to where it intersects. And it's just that, okay? If you want to round this, you can do that, of course. In their new Crafter's Compendium, card making compendium, there is a little corner rounder that might work for this, but there's that. This one's tough to see, I don't know why, but I'm just gonna eyeball like this. We're almost done. And so this is gonna have a 1/4 inch thickness for you to put a card that has like a little embellishment that might be a little bit thicker than, you know, what you would normally have. So not as thick as making a box. So basically the box one, the reason I'm gonna show you that is to show you like if you want to make a box that's just thick enough for a card that might need like a 1/2 inch thickness or something like that. And I'm just trying to get this, hold it up. Of course on the inner line, then the outer line. And you can use a bone folder. Obviously you have one in the kit, so it's not like you have to go looking for it. You have it right there. And this is a square envelope, so it doesn't really matter what I choose to go up or down on this one. Let me back up just a little bit, because it's gonna be square. But maybe, let me see. That's cute if that's the thing. So this has to be at the bottom and this will be the top. So now all we're gonna do is, however you'd like to stick this part together. Again, I prefer a wet glue, but right now I have this little tape runner. We need a little tape, a little something there. And I'm kind of paying attention to how high this should be before I really stick it down. Like this side needs to be a little bit. So glue it down as the shape, you know, not flat because you're gonna end up not having it done correctly. And on this part, I'm gonna put the glue on this upper part. Kind of avoiding this bottom area because I don't want it to end up over putting a little glue too much. And what's cute about this is that it perfectly lines up. I don't have to cut anything out. I know sometimes you can cut off this tip or you have to tuck it in. For this one, it worked out perfectly, and you can put your little 4-inch square card that might have a little girth to it and put a little sticker, a little seal, close it, and look how pretty. Super cute, pretty easy, guys. So you just have to follow along. Okay, so let's talk about the boxes. For this one, you're gonna have to do a little bit of your own thinking on this. So let's say I want this to be created for a card that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, right? A standard A2 size card that I want to make a little box for, or anything, whatever it is, doesn't matter. But 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 is what we want the end box size. And maybe you want it to be a little bit bigger than that. Maybe you want the card to have some room in there, but I'm just going to do 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So what we're gonna do is open this up, and I'm gonna turn it back on itself so I can lay it flat here so we can see everything together as one here. We are gonna have to actually use the trimmer. So I'll use the trimmer probably off camera, so I'm not gonna waste your time looking at the trimmer again. But if we want this to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, we want the box top and the box base. And I want the box base to be a little deeper. That way when I put my lid on it, the lid sits up and you can see the box base. Right? If you make them exactly the same size, they're gonna fit on top of each other and you're not gonna see the bottom unless when they open it, right? So I have to do some math here. Okay, and then we're gonna mark the 1/2 inch line. So the box is only gonna be 1/2 inch deep, okay? Sorry, this is making a lot of noises. I don't know why. It should lay right flat on each other so you don't have to mess with it. Okay. So 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and we want it 1/2 inch deep. So that means we need to add an inch to our measurements. So it needs to be 5 1/4 by 6 1/2 square. 5 1/4 by 6 1/2, okay? So I'm gonna make one that's 5 1/4 by 6 1/2, and then I need another piece that's gonna be a little deeper than that. I want it to be a little bit bigger, so the box base is kind of showing a little bit. So if we have 5 1/4 by 6 1/2, let's make the second one an inch deeper than that. So 5 1/4 by 6 1/2, and then we're gonna need a 6 1/4 by 7 1/2 piece. So let me write this down before I forget. We want one piece to be 5 1/4 by 6 1/2. I just have a napkin here on my table. 5 1/4 by 6 1/2. And then the other one, like I said, I want a little depth to it, so we want 6 1/4 by 7 1/2. Okay, so when I come back, I'm gonna cut my paper down to those measurements. Now this thing does not tell you about that. It doesn't say, hey, make your measurements this way. It just says make your box whatever size you want, and then just know that whenever you score it, it's gonna be 1/2 inch apart, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch. So you can make bigger boxes, obviously, you got a deeper box. You need to have a big piece of paper if you're gonna do that, or it's gonna be a very small box with higher sides, or a really big piece of paper that you might have, or maybe you have to put 2 pieces of paper together. But for right now, when I come back, I'm going to cut this craft cardstock to 6 1/4 by 7 1/2. And then I'm gonna cut this pretty one to 5 1/4 by 6 1/2, okay? And I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I have my 2 pieces here. Again, the box base is 6 1/4 by 7 1/2. The top is 5 1/4 by 6 1/2, okay? So I have the box base side sitting up right now, so we're gonna work with the base. And so we're gonna take our bigger piece, right? Because I wanted the base to be a little bit fatter than the top, thicker on the sides. So this part, you don't have to like measure it any certain way. It's just, you already cut your paper because you already did that measurement. So all we're gonna do is butt it up to the very top box base. And you're just gonna take your tool, and for this example, I'm gonna score at 1 inch, right? Because that's basically the measurements I wanted. So I'm gonna butt it up to the other side, 1 inch, which is the second line, right? Again, turn it 1 inch. And turn it one more time, and we score at 1 inch. Again, this is the box base, so this is gonna be our bottom part. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this before we move on, just so that it's ready to go. So all you're gonna do is choose which one you wanna cut. You wanna cut this line, you wanna cut this line, doesn't matter, but just choose one of the lines and then always cut the same way. I'm gonna cut down, and then you can go a little bit lower, all the way to the corner, whatever you want, but do it the same every time. You're gonna cut a little notch. So that way it looks a little neater when you go to turn your paper. So I'm gonna turn, and I'm gonna cut the tabs always on the bottom right, okay? So I'm gonna turn, bottom right is what I'm gonna cut. You don't really wanna cut, well, I guess if you really want to, you could just cut tabs on both of these pieces and then cut this just straight down. But it looks nicer when you kind of keep it the same. So I'm gonna do it this way and just cut that tab, okay? So now this guy's pretty much ready to go. All we have to do is fold it up, but I'll do that in a minute. So I'm gonna put that to the side. Now I'm gonna turn this whole thing around, and it says box lid. But I only want the lid to be a 1/2 inch little lip, right? So we made our measurements for that reason. So this is 5 1/4 by 6 1/2. I'm not gonna measure at 1 inch again, because that's gonna make a really tiny top, and I didn't measure for that. I didn't add paper for that. I only added enough paper for a 1/2 inch all around. So basically, whenever you do this, think about how big you want the finished product, and then add however much of this that you want on either side. So if I want a 1/2 inch, you know, lip or side or edge, then you need to add 1 inch to that measurement, right? And you can even make these in weird shapes. Let's say you wanted, well, not really. I mean, you can, you just have to think about it more, and I don't even know why you would want to do that. So I was gonna say you can make it kind of lopsided, but it's like, why would you want to do that? So let's turn this. You just have to do the math, and that's why you can basically make any shaped box with this. I'm turning it again 1/2 inch. I didn't press too hard. The first time I had to press really hard. This time when I went to press, I cut through the box a little bit through the paper. So be careful with the type of paper you're using. And this time again, we're gonna do the same thing. And the top is very small and delicate, as you can see now. So I'm just gonna do that, cut, turn, and cut. So I guess there is some tutorial information you would need on this. I was just like, oh, it's so easy, but you know what? They didn't really include the information there. There is a video, obviously, so I'm sure their video shows how to do your calculations, but that's why they're saying you can make this in any shape, really. You just have to add know the measurements and add the extra, and you're good to go. So again, I didn't fold it, not fold it, but score it too hard, and now it feels like more difficult to score it here, which is weird. Okay. Either you go through the paper or you don't score it deep enough, apparently, because this is giving me a little trouble here, but that's okay. We'll get it. We'll get it going. That's crazy. It's just really tough to score. This is the one I started off, and see how I started it and it ripped through the paper, but the scoring is easier on that one. And then I started being more delicate with it, so then it was harder to. So that's all we're gonna do. We're gonna do the same thing to the top and the bottom as far as what I just did. Let me move this so we can get a little bit closer. Okay, so I did all the scoring. I'm just gonna lay it flat so I can get some glue, but if you just had a wet glue, you would just put it on there and you don't have to flatten it out again. I'm just trying to get a little of this on each little notch. And all we're gonna do is bring that in, press it tight. Now if you had glue, what they're showing there is like to take little clothespins or something like that, or paper clips, and just put them on there to hold it together until it dries, so you're not sitting there just holding them. Tacky glue is good for something like this because it dries kind of fast and it holds on really fast. Like it'll hold it in place while you're waiting for it to dry, so you can use that if you don't have paper clips or... Okay, so I had to give it a little extra zhuzh to make it nice and straight. And same thing for this guy. Now this one, look at how easy that scores because I was able to kind of push down and not cut my paper. This is scoring super easy. That was much faster. And it's also a bigger surface, like the top was so small, the little 1/2 inch area. I honestly thought this was gonna be super faster. I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it, when I did the Pro, maybe I already did the Envelobox. I don't know, I feel like that looks familiar in that last tutorial, but it's okay. So that way we both have both types of boxes that you might want to give somebody a card in. Now this would be if you had all kinds of embellishment, which some people do. So this is a nice 1 inch side all around. This one only has 1/2 inch sides all around. And then because it's the base and the top, they go together really nicely and easily. And what I like about this one is it is nice and snug. Look how that fit. That fit is like a glove, right? Like, look at that. And then you see the cute bottom area, and I love that. And then again, if you want to cut out apertures, if you want to use the designs in here to make apertures, you would just kind of trace it, you know, with your embossing tool and then cut it out, or just do some embossing anyway. Like if you really wanted something on there, let me see if I can. Okay, this might have been something I should have done when it was flat, but it'll still be flat. See this little heart here? Let's say I wanted this heart on here. So what I'm gonna do is just take this, try to line it up. I'm not sure exactly where the heart is, but you kind of feel for it. And once you, it's right there. Ooh, ooh. I can feel it there, but my paper like wants to tear. Let's say there it is. I didn't quite do it, but if you wanted to, look, you can kind of see the lines. So I would have done that when my paper was flat, because right now it like wants to pierce through my paper. So anyway, so you can take any one of these little things and just do a little designing on there, or any design that's on here. So there's that. I love it. I love box making. It's just so easy and cute. This is the one I just made in the video yesterday that you guys might have seen. It is made with the rectangular double-sided dies from Crafter's Companion. And like I said yesterday in the video, this one's a little bit of a bummer because it's just flat. Like, you don't see the bottom of the box if it's closed up, right? It's just a little flat 1/2 inch, little over the 1/2 inch box. But it was made in one fell swoop right through your machine, but it looks like this, the rectangle box. And this is the larger box. There's a smaller box in the set. So it's a little bit different, and you know. So basically any size box you wanna make, if it needs to be super long, thinner, wide, square, whatever, as long as your paper, your base paper is big enough, right? You can do that. So what is cute, thank you Carol again for this card, is I'll show you, hopefully I did my measurements right, and guess what? I did them too right, because again, like the other one, in the base is gonna be a little bit smaller than your 5.5 by 4 1/4. So this thing really wants to fit in here snugly. And that's exactly what happened on this one too. It doesn't really fit, it kind of has to sit at an angle. But, you know, the box top is like perfectly exactly 5.5 by 4 1/4. So maybe I wasn't the best example I gave you guys. Maybe you gotta go a little bigger in your initial measurement, right? So that this box is exactly 5.5 by 4 1/4. So if you want to give it some room, because obviously you need to, I would do my numbers, and I'll tell you the numbers right now. I would do 5.5 by 6 3/4, 5.5 by 6 3/4 for the top, And for the bottom, I would do 6.5 by 7 3/4, okay? So I know I just did the whole tutorial. I don't want to go back and do whatever. So again, 5.5 by 6 3/4, and then 6.5 by 7 3/4. So we're just adding a 1/4 inch, just a little something all around so that the card can kind of fit in there much easier. All right, guys, so hopefully, other than that little flub there, and I had said that at the beginning, I said basically it's gonna save. I should have given a little extra, right? And then you still do the measurements the same. You still do your 1/2 inch all around, 1 inch all around, and you're good to go. But thanks for watching, guys. And if you have any questions, please ask them here. I will try to, answer as many as I can. I usually try to answer all of them. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye now.